Hello crafty friends, would you like to create captivating and elegantly textured backgrounds for your cards and other papercraft projects? Well, in today's video I'll show you how to use a few simple supplies including your white paper scraps to make gorgeous tactile elements for your paper crafts. To start off, I grabbed some linen textured white paper scraps, flipped them over, and on their back I stuck them together with some washi tape to create one large piece of paper to work on. One of my scraps had brown ink on it already, so I decided to embrace that and go with brown for my main colour. I took some vintage photo distress oxide and dragged it across my card. The linen texture really grabbed onto the ink. I then rotated my paper at 90 degrees and did the same thing using walnut stain, so I've got a bit of a crisscross pattern. I then used my smusher to pick up some watered down vintage photo distress oxide and I smushed that all over. And this is all just to get some colour on my paper, to get some visual texture, some energy and a feeling of movement. Off camera, I dried that with my hairdryer and then I pulled out a stencil which has a kind of ironwork type pattern, the kind of thing you might see on a manhole cover. And I thought that went well with brown. And all I did was take some Liquitex light modelling paste. You don't need to use this brand, there are cheaper ones on the market. But this comes out of the pot white and it stays white, but it will absorb some of the colour from the inks underneath, so as it dries it will turn a light brown. Apologies for that big shaft of light, I did manage to get rid of it, so it will go away very soon. Once I covered everything in texture paste, I left this to dry for a couple of hours, and when I came back to it I added some shimmer spray. This is one of the moon shadow mists from Lindy's Stamp Gang. I've had this probably I think for about 8 years and I've only got a tiny bit left. I did add some water to it to dilute it a bit to make the last few drops go a bit further. I then spritzed it all over my paper. I added some more water with a water sprayer and then added some more of the moon shadow mist. And then I picked it up and tilted it this way and that to encourage the liquid, the colour to mix and move and run around the edges of the texture paste. Now this moon shadow mist has a gold shimmer to it, so when it dries you get areas that are really lovely and gold. Now you don't need this particular spray, use whatever you have in your stash. You could use watercolours, you don't have to spray it on, you could use a paintbrush to apply it. You could use pigment powders, just dust them over and then give it a good spritz with water. Adding a bit of wet medium on top of the background, the texture paste, just adds another layer of interest and visual texture. So I'll let the whole thing dry overnight before doing anything with it. This is linen textured cardstock, as I said. It's not designed to take lots of water, but it does handle it quite well. If you leave it alone while it dries, it won't fall apart. I decided to cut all my bits down with different dies to create a bunch of cards. I'm going to make one for you on camera, and then at the end of the video, I'll show you the others that I made. So for my first card, I used 3 tag dies. These are from Sizzix. And I cut some partial tags because I only wanted the holy end of the tag on my card. And I arranged these in a visual triangle on another piece of linen textured cardstock. I then ran this through my die cutting machine with a stitched rectangle panel, and I did this after I'd stuck the tags down because I wanted the edge of the tags to have some of that stitching detail as well. I then used tape runner to adhere this to the front of a linen textured cardstock card blank, so we're going full on linen textured here. I do think it adds a nice elegance to a card. And then I used some gold cardstock and some stationery type dies to die cut out some little shapes. I added a pair of compasses to the large tag, a paper clip to the small tag, and a bulldog clip to the medium tag. For my sentiment, I stamped Happy Birthday in black on a stitched rectangle white die cut, and then I placed this a third of the way down from the top and a third of the way in from the left. And that was that card done. Do stick around for a couple more minutes and I'll show you the other cards that I made with these backgrounds. I'm back and I have made 5 cards in total, including the one that I made on camera. This is card number 2 and I used some ticket dies to die cut from the background. I placed one ticket in the middle, centered on this third line here, a third in from the left. Then I placed these 2 and then I placed these 2 and chopped them off. I wanted to keep it fairly simple, so I die cut a globe from gold foil cardstock. It's the same matte gold foil cardstock that I used on the last card. And then I added a happy birthday, and that sits on the intersection of these third grid lines here. So as I said, very simple. I could add a few dots or drops. If you wanted to jazz it up a bit, you could add some spatters, but I'm happy with it as it is. So for card number 3, I cut a panel from the background using a stitched rectangle die, and I mounted that on another linen textured panel that I also cut with a stitched rectangle die, the next size up. I cut it so the texture paste was at an angle. I gave it a deliberate wonk because I wasn't sure I was going to be able to line it up so that the texture paste was perfectly vertical and horizontal. So by giving it a deliberate wonk, it looks purposeful. To decorate the card, I die cut out this graduated measuring flask from the same gold foil cardstock. I backed it with vellum and popped it down here. I also added some gold and vellum circles bubbling out of the flask, and I'm not sure if you can see it right now, but I did add some gold glitter pen. I used this Midas Touch pen from Tonic, and I added that to the flask and the bubbles. And the happy birthday I placed a third of the way up in the middle. For my 4th card, I cut a large stitched rectangle panel of the background, and I did manage to get actually the texture paste lined up how I wanted it. And I also cut a panel from linen textured white card, and then placed the 2 panels together, one on top of the other, and then die cut through both of them using a border die. It was a straight line with a little bit of stitching detail, and that gave me some bits that I could mash together. So I used a large bit of the background here and a small bit of the white, and a large bit of the white and a small bit of the background. So that's a kind of 2 for 1 out of the background. And I grabbed some more stationary mathematical type dies. This one's got some file folders, although they could be books. And I added that here with some gold and some vellum dots and the happy birthday diagonally opposite. And with this one I added kind of geometry type stuff. We've got a protractor, a set square, a pair of compasses, plus a little drawing pin and a little bulldog clip. And again, dots and a happy birthday. The happy birthday is a third of the way in from the left and bang in the middle. So that's 5 cards made from that one background created from a few white scraps. I hope you've enjoyed the video and gleaned a few ideas that you can use in your own card making. If you have, I'd love it if you let me know in the comments. Leave a thumbs up, subscribe and ring the notification bell, and I'll be back here very soon with another video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.